for
Okay.
December 9th, 2021. We'll start with a roll call, and I'll go ahead and just call your name, and then you say here, so we don't have the delay. So I'll start with myself, Darren here, and then Marlene.
Here.
And John.
Here.
And Larry.
Here.
Okay, that should take care of the board members, staff, Kim.
Here.
And Cindy.
Here.
Okay, so I think that's everyone other than the applicants.
And we do have Jeremy Hammer, our associate planner, joining us this evening too
Okay,
for this project.
thank you. Okay, we have approval of minutes from July 22nd. So I looked those over, and it looks like only Marlene and John were present at that meeting. So it'll be a vote of 2. Have you guys had a chance to review those?
Yep. I'd like to make a motion to accept the meetings minutes as written.
I second.
Presume, yeah, that's good. Marlene, you're the only one that really could second it. So we'll call for the question between you two. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The minutes are approved for July 22nd, 2021. Okay, so we'll we know this is an open public meeting, and so we'll have our open public meeting announcement. Generally, the public is allowed to virtually attend this meeting as well as can comment. But I'll ask this question of staff first. Are there any members of the public outside the applicant and or staff or the DRB members that are dialed in to the meeting at this time?
No, there are none.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and if there are such, then you can let us know, and we can allow them to comment at that point in the time of the meeting. But at this point, we'll assume there aren't any, and we might be able to skip that portion. Okay, appearance of fairness. We would go ahead and ask any of the DRB members if they've had any written or ex parte communication regarding this application.
None.
Okay, and then considering we'll ask any of the members of the audience, in essence, the applicant or staff members, if they have any concerns with any DRB member or any other staff member in participating in this application.
No concern.
Okay.
None.
I don't think we're going to have any issues with appearance of fairness concerns here. So we'll go ahead and move on, and we'll turn this over to, I presume it's going to be Kim, giving us her staff report.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, DRB. We're here tonight for your consideration of a design alternative proposed by the new Cedarbrook Dental tenant occupying the old Wells Fargo Bank located at 5501 Soundview Drive. The site is commercially developed in its existing state and is not encumbered by any steep slopes, critical areas, or significant vegetation. The subject parcel is located in the city's B2 General Business District and is surrounded on all sides by the B2 zone, apart from the site's western frontage on State Route 16. The site's existing structure will be remodeled to accommodate the change in use. To this end, the applicant has proposed to enclose a recessed area located along the north facade of the building. The effect of this proposed element of the remodel is the creation of a long, low wall plane, which is inconsistent with the city's massive scale standards set forth in Gig Harbor Municipal Code 17.99.380A. As such, the applicant is proposing a design alternative to this design manual provision this evening. Tonight's meeting has been appropriately noticed to the public, and no comments were provided in response to the notice. Gig Harbor Municipal Code 17.99.380A requires applicants to avoid long, low wall planes in their design. Prominent facade wall planes may not be wider than 2.5 times the height of the wall plane. A new wall plane designed to achieve compliance with this standard must be offset by at least 6 feet. As an alternative to this design standard, the applicant has redesigned the north facade to be an aligned, cohesive wall plane. There has been no increase to the height of the wall. The result of the redesign is an approximately 79-foot long wall without any offset wall plane, creating a prominent facade that is approximately 6.5 times longer than its height. The applicant notes that its proposed alternative design is consistent with the criteria for approval that the board will be considering this evening, based on the creation of cohesiveness in the design and the removal of what will become an unusable, confusing exterior space, which currently exists within the alcove created in the small 4-foot offset area in the facade. Additionally, the applicant points to its use of a variety in material, an exceptional amount of glazing, and the use of floor to ceiling windows, which detract from a monotonous, obtrusive design that might otherwise be the result of a long, low wall plane. The applicant proposes to use both tiled cladding and horizontal wood plank siding materials and proposes to include 37% glazing in the facade's design. Staff concurs that this combination adds architectural interest to the structure and avoids the uncharacterized or boxy designs intended to be avoided by the mass and scale standards. Should the board agree with the analysis described in section 6 of the staff report, staff has prepared suggested findings and recommendations for the board to consider adopting this evening, which recommend approval of the requested alternative design review permit. This concludes my synopsis of the Cedarbrook Dental Tenant Improvement Project, and I'm happy to address any questions prior to the applicant's presentation as needed.
Any DRB members have any questions of Kimberly or staff?
I have no questions.
Okay. All right, we'll turn it over to the applicant for their introduction. Introduce yourself as well as your team members and your presentation. I presume the staff will allow you to share your screen, so you can kind of maybe thumb through your presentation.
All right, thanks, Darren. Everyone hear me okay? I'm here. Hi, I'm Dustin Thorlaxon. I'm architect with Freiheit Architecture, architect on this project. We also have Dr. Elton on the call here as well. He will be the dentist operating this building here. That represents our project team. So Kim did a great job explaining the project, kind of going over everything. So I'll just add in with some visuals and kind of how we got to this solution and what we're asking the board to approve here. As you know, this project it's a pad building at the Olympic Village Shopping Center, right off of Washington 16 on the east side there of Washington 16. It was formerly a bank building. I'm sure if you've gone past it, it's got kind of this big rock facade on there. This was purchased by Dr. Elton to move his dental practice into this structure here. He's been operating in Gig Harbor for a long time, and just has kind of outgrown his space and really wants to be a member of the community and kind of enhance the aesthetics of Gig Harbor, and kind of have his dental practice right here in the center of the city itself. So what he did is this building here, this is the existing building footprint here. It was previously a bank use. So as traditional banks that were built in this time, you kind of have those two entrances off of the common lobby and then bank tellers up on the side. So there's actually a parking lot in the rear of the building here towards the north, which had its own separate entry, and also the main entry here on the south side of the building, which kind of faces the Olympic Village Shopping Center and the area that we are proposing to use for our main facade. Here's the proposed building here. You can see here on the north side, it's really just lining up that existing elevation, that facade, all the way across to make the interior of the space more usable for a dental practice. I'm having two entrances into this building. Having a dental office doesn't make a lot of sense and can be very confusing to people parking kind of here in the back, even though most people are going to be parking here in the front, coming up this ramp to this new kind of redesigned, at least materially, entry here on the south. As Kim mentioned, it's 79'2" total in length. But what you see here is kind of broken up with the glazing. This is full height glazing, ground all the way up to the roof. So it is breaking up materiality across the facade. So that's kind of what I'm showing here with these dimensions of the windows and kind of what's perceived as the wall plane. Here's kind of just this is just showing the north side of the building here. On the left side is the existing condition. This is the alcove that we're talking about. It recesses about 4 feet back from the parking lot. And then here on the right is kind of what we're proposing. So this recess already was fully glazed, and we're just kind of taking that glazing and moving it out to be in plane with the front facade along here. In this rendering here, the dark gray is a tile type material. The brown is that horizontal wood, natural wood siding, and then obviously the floor to roof glazing. There's no change to the roof or the roof overhangs. The overall mass and form of the building maintains its original condition. It's really just taking this wall and shifting it out. Here's kind of a view from the other side, looking back towards the structure proposed here. This just real quick is the elevation looking directly at it on that north side. If you were to look at this, I think the eye would perceive kind of the glass, the glazing, and the dark colored tile material as kind of one linear form, and then the wood itself being a secondary one. So this diagram here is kind of showing how the change in material is in relation to the height. So with that perceived extents of the wall plane, the perception would never be over the 2.5 height times the height, and therefore be in compliance with this alternative design solution here. That's the extent of it and the visuals that we have. I think Kim went through the kind of ideas and what we're proposing here fairly well. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you.
Okay, I'll ask Marlene or John or Larry, do you have any questions of the applicant?
The only question I have is the where you guys are bringing it back out. Looks like you're adding some planting beds in front of the glazing, or is that, are you changing the planting beds at all on the existing to the new?
The existing planting beds are going to be reconstructed just with a kind of the surround, so it maintains that same area. It is, so they're just going to be kind of enhanced with better planting in there is one thing that Dr. Ellison really wants on the building. And then here in the front, these are just kind of set on movable planters, which would they were put in there to kind of deter people from going into that recess, but they're just to be there for kind of put planters here on in front of this glazing. There is still a door going in through here, and that's going to be the entrance used for, Dr. Elton will correct me on the term, but basically if anyone has to come in on a stretcher or be taken out onto their car, not a stretcher, but wheeled out to their car, this is where they would park in kind of the rear entrance. It's a so the closed room, secure room.
Yep, it's for our sedated patients. If we, sedate them in our office, generally it's not, comforting to the patients in our lobby to walk sedated patients out the front with gauze hanging out the side of their mouth. So it's kind of a pickup site for their family members.
Thank you.
Well, I have a couple questions, maybe not as it relates to the north elevation directly, but obviously I think most of us in the DRB probably familiar with this building. If you've been to McDonald's, you've been to this building. You maybe were an old Wells Fargo customer at some point in the past too. So it's got a drive-through that's on the west side of the building. And I know your application focuses on just this facade. And there's, in essence, kind of an implied walkway that's in front that you can see in this photo that's up there on the existing walkway that's in front of the parking stalls. So I would presume that people would be able to park on this side of the building, and then they would have some way to walk to the main entrance. And my initial thought is that they would walk around the west side because they wouldn't want to enter out into that drive lane, which is a little bit crazy in the Olympic Village, that bypasses the Round Table and McDonald's there. So what are the plans for the west side of the building, and in essence, kind of the pedestrian connection around there? And again, the reason I'm asking is because the building, making some modification to this, we do look at things as isolated pieces, but in one sense, it makes more sense if the totality of the project is really doing some good things that allow us to say, yes, this is also an improvement in addition to other things that are being done. So I'm just curious as to how you're looking at that west side of the building and how people on this side are getting around, and if the drive-through structure is going to remain or it's going to be demolished, what happens with all that site that's on that end of the building?
Sure. So we are proposing to remove the drive-through area and the canopy on that side, and that whole area is going to be converted to additional parking on the west side. There's also it's kind of a plaza employee space here in this corner of the
Mhm.
parking. But it will just be a sidewalk that basically wraps the whole building along the west side, like you said. For parking here in the rear, there is a route, the accessible route can go around the whole building to that south side of the main entrance along the west.
Is the design progressed to where you already have that worked out? I guess this is a question not only for the applicant, but for staff. Has staff seen this? Is it something that anticipates would be prescriptively approved?
Chair, yes, it does. And, Dustin, it might be best to fully address the chair's question right now. It might be best to pull up your most recent plan set and show what the site in totality is going to look like. But yes, the western facade area is going to be improved with like siding material. There is going to be the demolition of the drive-through. That entire area is going to be improved with additional parking and landscaping, as well as pedestrian connectivity. And then the kind of, I forget what term Dustin used, but they have an outdoor common area that is in excess of the required amount of square footage. It's provided right there where his cursor is. That is all
Well-
prescriptively meeting the design manual.
Yeah, and I can't speak from other, co-members of the DRB, but I would think they'd appreciate being able to see the whole project, I think it helps lend some insight, to, the scale of, the change or the piece that we're actually talking about. And it looks like, and this is kind of what I had in my mind, thinking like, well, how would it be redeveloped? And I'm glad to see that would progress this way.
Mhm.
Any other DRB members have any, comments regarding, those other elements of the site? Obviously, they're not part of our discussion per se, but I think they do lend to how we look at that north side of the building. Okay, not having any comments. So, okay, any other questions for the applicant from the DRB members? Okay, well, let's go ahead and talk about the proposed solution then. I think in regards to the way Kim staff have looked at this project, I would concur. My own sort of thoughts on this is that the building, in one sense, is it's pretty modest. It's pretty low scale as it is. I have always contended that the low long wall plane was really addressing sort of big boxes that really don't have a lot of interest. It's really not applicable in the spirit of that concept to this building, especially with the materials running from base to roof line. It really modulates the building visually with the glass and the siding and the old stone that's on there. Obviously, it harkens to some design standards of years ago, and I think going to some more contemporary siding and other panels with some looks like new glazing systems, obviously they're going to modernize the building quite a bit. And again, overall, it's at 79 feet or so. This building is one of the smaller buildings within the development. And again, I think it's probably with these changes, would probably be one of the more attractive ones. So I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. Marlene, John, you unmuted first. Go ahead, John.
No, I actually completely agree. I mean, truthfully, the building was a kickback to the 70s beforehand. This design's bringing it into modern day. I think it's very pretty in many ways, and scale wise, I have zero issues with it on it. I think it's going to be a benefit and a plus to that development in the area. So I
I
like what,
concur with that.
Go ahead, Larry, if you have any more thoughts, beyond that.
I was just saying, I concur. I think the design changes that have been proposed are an improvement to the building and will enhance that overall area.
Okay, great. Okay, Marlene.
and give you the big ditto. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with the applicants' argument, and staff, I think, agreed with it as well, that, you know, the changes in material, the modulation, you're not being presented a blank, empty, straight wall. So just because it's not jogging in and out, you're still getting a lot of modulation and interest. And I look forward to seeing this building activated again, and I look forward to there being a walkway that goes around it. That will be a nice improvement. So thank you for asking about that. Yeah, I guess if no one else has anything to say, maybe I actually don't have the motion in front of me that was recommended, but I would be ready to approve a motion.
Okay. All right. All right. If nobody has any other comments on it, I'll go ahead and propose a motion. I guess we have findings that staff have proposed that read: the DRB finds that the proposed design alternatives meet the intent of the general requirements of the code and represent an equivalent or superior design solution to what would be otherwise be achieved by rigidly applying the specific requirements of the code. So the recommendation would be the design review board recommends the decision maker accept the proposed design alternative as compliant with the criteria of approval for an alternative design request set forth in the code. So that would be my motion. Do we have a second?
I
Second,
would second that. I would
I
second that
second.
motion. Marlene, you got me.
Marlene gets the second. So, okay, any other discussion? Okay, we'll call for the question. All in favor?
I
Aye.
Aye. So 4 ayes, no opposed. So the motion carries. All right, that's as simple as the design review board process is, in the city of Gig Harbor. So we encourage you to, sign up for more projects, bring them forward. We're bored lately. We haven't had anything to do. So, we appreciate it. This project is sat vacant for a while, and there's always the potential for bad happenings around vacant properties. So it's nice to see that we can, improve the center of this shopping center. And there's been a lot of other improvements in the other buildings as of late. So this will be a really good sort of positive injection of some good design work there. So good job.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Chair. I can speak on behalf of my applicant to acknowledge that he's very anxious to be able to get this project underway. And I know that it can be challenging sometimes during the holiday season to be able to get everybody on the board together. So really appreciate everybody's time this evening to be able to allow him to continue to pursue his building permitting.
Perfect. Okay, at this time, we can excuse the applicant. We might have just a couple little follow-up things with the board itself. So thank you once again. Looking forward to the project getting started.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Kimberly and Cindy and Jeremy, obviously we have some news that our chair is stepping down from the DRB, correct?
Really?
Is that the what I'm hearing? I got a message from Brett that she is moving to Tacoma, and her commitments to boards and other things here, I think, are going to change. So this is what I've heard directly from Brett. So I'm going to throw it out there that we probably at the next DRB meeting with the assembly of Linda as well would compliment everybody so far. I would maybe have staff to reach out to Brett, confirm her decisions and what she's planning here, so we know how to proceed. Because at some point we haven't voted in a while, and we can vote for the positions on the board, a chair and a vice chair. But I would like to, since we would potentially be down 2 seats, we probably want to make sure we have everybody present before we have a vote.
Of course.
Okay.
We'll get that taken care of, Chair. Thank you
Yes.
for that reminder.
Okay. Then did I see that So first and foremost, maybe let's welcome Larry, because we haven't had a meeting yet. So Larry, welcome to the Design Review Board. You have to unmute yourself there.
Yeah.
Or get, is he on his, yeah,
Well,
he's got video now.
He looks like he's on his computer now. So Larry, if you could unmute yourself. Usually a little button that's down to the left typically.
Right now, I have managed, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm kind of on in two places. I reloaded Zoom while we were doing the meeting and I'm able to get in, but I haven't been hearing voice over my computer. I'm hearing it only over my phone. So I'm
Okay.
not 100% active yet.
Okay. Well, Larry, welcome. It looks like as I'm perusing the city's website, I'm curious, staff maybe can answer this. I see where Larry's term says it goes through September of next year. So is he filling a seat that was vacant and also occupying the timeline for that seat as well?
That will be a question that I need to bring forth to the powers that be, Chair. Yes.
Okay, all right, because that's it looks like Marlene and Larry's time frame both say September 2022, and the remaining members of the DRB September 2023. So just
Okay,
curious.
I might ask you to restate your question one more time so I can capture it correctly in my notes.
I'm just curious as to the term for length for all DRB members at the moment. You know, with Larry being a new member, I'm curious why his term would be less than a year unless he's assuming an existing term for a particular seat.
I see.
So that's all.
Okay, I'll pass that along.
Yeah, and then like I said, we verified Brett's intentions, and if she is, I got some changes in her life, and she's moving, and is planning on maybe stepping down from the DRB, then obviously we would have 2 vacant seats, and it put a little more pressure on. It would be Larry, myself, and Marlene to always be present to have quorum, right? Right? Until we
correct.
have another, unless the council wants to figure out a way to, you know, include the historic members, you know, John or Linda as legitimate full-time positions on the DRB that can help towards quorum, you know.
Correct.
Maybe I don't know what the status is of being able to recruit people to serve on the DRB. So we've had a vacant seat for a while. So let's see, if it's a little tougher, then maybe the council might consider that.
A good idea.
Okay.
Look forward to.
Okay. And it sounded like our next meeting on the 23rd, is canceled?
Is canceled, correct.
Okay. Is there anything else upcoming that you are seeing that might come in front of the board in the new year?
I don't have anything scheduled currently.
Just
Okay.
thinking about my my project workload right now, nothing comes immediately to mind. If there's and it's agreeable right now to make a small shift, I do, before everybody leaves, want to allow for our new associate planner to be introduced. Jeremy Hammer is joining us this evening. Jeremy comes to us. Jeremy, what have we been here for? 4 or 5 months now?
5 months now.
5 months
Yeah,
out of the city of Auburn.
Yes, correct. So I started in mid-July. Came here from city of Auburn, looking to reduce my commute. So I'm living in Tacoma currently with my wife and young child. Look forward to working with all you on some projects in the future. I had a design review that I thought might come to the board, but it ended up that it's just an administrative review after some review of it. So hopefully sometime soon.
Anything in the pipeline that you're anticipating might need to come?
No, I thought there would be, but that changed just the other day. So
Okay, well, welcome.
thank you.
Your workspace looks still a little sparse though, if that's your workspace.
Yeah, I mean, we don't
I
really use
think-
paper plans, so that's where those would normally be. The rest of it's kind of a mess, but you can't see that.
Okay, well, I'll leave it to staff, but if we don't have anything in the near future, I think our own structure and as far as our members' status and the seats, I think we could have a meeting, even if we weren't reviewing a project, just to get everybody together and have a vote and kind of get a sense of participation for the upcoming season. So I would be all in favor of that, say in January or so, and it might be also a good time to vote for positions on the board.
We can certainly discuss that, Kim.
Yeah, yeah.
We can discuss
Well,
that
yeah, we'll
next.
definitely have that conversation.
Yes,
Okay.
and then we can follow up with everyone.
Let us try to get our wits about ourselves and figuring out the number of seats that are available that need to be filled and
Yes.
what the timeline looks like for filling those positions, or what the appetite might be of the council to pursue amending the role of a CLG, have a little bit more weight when it comes to quorum.
Mhm. And did I hear right that the council had adopted an ordinance that limited the DRB seats to only one architect?
That is correct.
So we're not in compliance currently, right, Marlene?
It's my understanding that all board
I'm
members get
muted.
to continue out their term.
Okay.
And I wonder about when you talk about recruitment, I mean, we had someone who, I'm not sure if he's registered or not, but works in architecture and who applied to be on our board and was rejected from being on our board. And that was actually before the rule was made about limiting people with expertise from being on the board. So
Well, this is another point maybe to get back together about the idea of recruitment. We do have some changes on the council. And it might be something that we maybe look at a little work session, or at least have an opportunity, maybe go before council and just describe a little bit. If we're having a difficult time, filling seats, I can understand why the council would want to limit that, because obviously it's not necessarily a board of, trained professionals per se. We really want to encourage, at-large community members to participate. But at the same time, if you have community members that also have some form of a design background or know how to read drawings, I think it's an advantage. So we don't want to be like too limiting. But again, that's up to the council. But with a new council, maybe they have a different view on that. I'd surely like to see, if there are people that are interested, I'd rather see the seats filled than have vacancies. So just because we have some criteria that we can or cannot meet.
we've, well, I've personally tried outreach to people with interest in landscape design, because that's something we've identified as kind of a lack on our board, or some expertise that we would like on the board. And as far as I know, although maybe it'll change, we haven't had anyone apply from that field.
Mhm. Do we have landscape architects in this town? I
No,
haven't worked with-
I've
with
never
anybody.
hired one. I've
I
never
haven't-
hired one that actually worked in this, that had an office in this town. I have had ones that have done a lot of work in Gig Harbor, but
Mhm.
um,
Okay. All right. Well, I just put that out there. So hopefully maybe in January, staff can kind of rally a little bit and kind of figure out what's happening, and then we can get back together and maybe talk about this a little bit more, so that it's always nice to have a few contingency members just in case, because it's very rare that we have all 7 members of the board together for a DRB meeting.
I will definitely get some better answers for you, Chair, and I'll try to get a response to you sooner rather than later.
Okay. Anything more, staff?
Nothing further.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay. John, you can make your motion now.
I would like to make a motion to close the meeting.
Oh, second.
It's his second. All right, all
You
in
have a
favor?
great holiday season.
Thank you,
All
you
right.
too. Happy holidays.
Okay, this meeting's closed. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Happy
All right, have a
holidays,
good night.
everyone. Have a good
Thank you. Good
holiday
night.
season.